whose study did you invade?
my in-laws, and which I'm having to use my Mac microphone like a savage. I don't have my microphone or a headset or anything.
I mean, it literally looked like you drifted into like some clue set or something like that.
I know the murder happened just outside the door. It
And,
wasn't in my room.
no. So with the candlestick, it's Tyler hanging out with us this morning, as he always does. And so since we'll start with the women's national team, because if folks look at some of the still photographs and the casuals on social media that came out yesterday with the multi-practice event that was at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, you could look to stage right, off of stage right, and see that Tyler was there yesterday. So the idea of having to juggle both practices and learn about both the women's national team and Atlanta United. What was it like up there yesterday?
It was chaotic. It was very chaotic. But it was good. I mean, of course, the women's national team coming is going to be maybe the highlight, because the Atlanta United stuff is business as normal for the most part. But tons of media out there, which is great. And you got to talk to Emily, got to talk to Alex Morgan. I mean, super great. And of course, Emily being the hometown hero is just really cool. But yeah, I mean, it was neat to be able to hear from them, and both, to hear out of their own mouths. I know everybody is excited about it, but to hear both of them talk about just how excited they are to have a home in Atlanta, it's really cool. It's really cool. And it's just another, I think, moment of pride for people in Georgia.
Jarrett, for Tyler, first question, go.
Yeah, and I guess for the anticipation with this, I guess not just having a home here, but do you expect? I guess do you expect a little bit of a showing out from some of the local players when they get a chance to not just show out on the field, but also take everybody around and show them why Atlanta is the place that it's going to be in terms of the epicenter here?
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that, because one of the things that that Emily mentioned yesterday was how a lot of the women were asking, like, hey, where's a good coffee shop? Where do we go shopping at? What do we do while we're here? Because she said that they were staying kind of like around downtown somewhere.
Around downtown.
No, I'm telling you, Jerusalem Bakery is a walking distance away from the training ground.
Right.
Yes. Y'all want good falafel.
Yes.
Yep. But she pointed out a coffee shop, and I forget the name of it. It's in Grant Park. And the name is escaping me right now. But anyway, she was explaining, like, it's such a great place. She talked about, being here as a kid and playing like down in Columbus, and the ungodly heat and humidity, and about how it made her fitness so much better and prepared her for her whole career. Essentially, it was really funny. But no, I mean, she's essentially acting as the tour guide.
She's the ambassador.
Yeah. And she gave the warning of the pollen as well. So they're all getting used to the pollen.
As if the field wasn't dusted with pollen, surely.
Right. Just a yellow haze over everything out there.
It's like, wait a second, this grass isn't green. What's going on here? What's all that stuff kicking up? Obviously, right now, this is part of the big blast-off week for Atlanta and the National Training Center reveal, groundbreaking. I imagine there's probably going to be on Monday morning some ceremonial clipping of a piece of tape with a rather large pair of scissors, those things. And you're going to have, and I think it's safe to say, even though we haven't sold that many tickets, you're going to have north of 50,000 people watching a She Believes semifinal at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And it continues to adds to the dossier. It adds to the legend that Atlanta is building here when it comes to, like, not just Major League Soccer. As Emily Sonnet said, it is having a She Believes, having all of those dates coming up in 26. By the way, we still don't have a 27 schedule or a home venue yet, just out loud. But I mean, it's another step in the stage of the growth of all of this and the foundation that is Atlanta and national soccer, really, and international soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote an article about it, and I'm trying to think of the number. I think it's 45,517 was what they told us yesterday morning, about almost 24 hours ago. So you're north of the 45,000 mark. They said the current record for a friendly, because this is considered a friendly, which is it's a technicality, but it's a friendly.
Yeah.
Is 49,000. So
yep.
I mean,
49,540. Yeah.
Yep. I think you can do it. But either way, for the women's national team not to have been here since the Georgia Dome was still standing, right? And since then, you've had Atlanta United come in, break record after record after record. Everything else going on in soccer in Atlanta, of course, the recent news that y'all hit on a lot with Roswell and USL Super League, and so many good things happening. And now you have big time players, 2-time World Cup winner, hometown heroes, everything coming here and talking about how grateful they are to have a home and have a place to where they all can come before a major tournament. And it was funny, Alex, she did drop one of her last lines that she dropped in the press conference yesterday was, I hope to see a women's team here in Atlanta one day.
I mean, don't we all, man? Like an NWSL.
Mm.
Yep.
I mean, look, the leagues are out there. The USLS is out there. That's part of what the USL Roswell project is looking to lean into. Arthur Blank has he has unsolicited. He has told Mike and Jason on 92.9, hey, he has mentioned women's soccer. And I think that you can find your avenues and everyone can continue to grow the sport however you wish to do so. I think you can find your road and you'll be okay with all of these different things that you can have here. I forgot to ask, what's the mug this morning? I am completely remiss.
It is John Wayne.
There we go. All right. There you go. Attaboy. Yeah,
Pilgrim.
Pilgrim. Yeah, attaboy, boy, Pilgrim. I get it. I'm right there.
That's it.
I'm down. All right. So have you volunteered to let them know, considering that that the National Training Center is going to be on the south side? Have you given the Southern Crescent scouting report to the women's national team?
No, and I need to let them know what's going on down in the southern reaches.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured let them break ground on it first, right? Like,
okay, all right,
get past the first moments. I mean, they came here, they were shocked by the 9,000 pollen count. They got tricked with the breezy weather yesterday, so it wasn't even like it was hot outside. I don't know. I mean, I hope I have plenty of time to make it happen, though.
Well, I mean, the ACOG did tell the IOC that the average temperature, I think, was in the low 70s.
Yep, I was about to say, when we got the Olympics, they told them like the average temperature in the summer was 70.
Yeah. It didn't say that was at 3.
Hey, you know what though? It's fine, because anytime you feel like, oh man, we lied to the IOC, don't worry about it, because next time you bid for anything, the guys you talk to will already be in jail for corruption, and it'll be a whole new group of people to lie to. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So
the biggest heist since Ocean's 11.
There you go. All right. So you've had a couple days. You've written about other things, and you've had the chance to digest another big victory for Atlanta United at home, continuing to do what a lot of folks, including themselves, think that they are supposed to do, and that is come away with full points and do so at home. And then everybody anticipates what's going to happen on the road, and you've got to steal points. You got to get points on the road. You got to get full points on the road. Now that you've had a couple days to digest another Atlanta United home win, what sticks in your mind?
Even when they weren't playing their best, they still looked way better than Chicago ever did that day. And, we had that conversation about Hugo and his $12 million price tag, and he was basically invisible on the pitch. There was really nobody that stood out except for Carlos Terán with the red card. That was crazy. But, the first half was just, it was choppy. I think the passing was just a little off, but we always have that throwback of you find a way to win even when the football isn't pretty. And You get the goal because everything was, I mean, it was close, right? There were things that were coming off the way that they were supposed to, but it just wasn't a full sequence. It was never a full sequence until it was, with Giakoumakis getting that first goal before the half. And they came out in the second half, and Pineda mentioned it in the press conference that he was unhappy essentially with how strong, or rather how flat-footed Atlanta looked and how strong Chicago looked in the first like 10 minutes of the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of adjusted and they got back on the gas pedal. You hate to see Giakoumakis go out, which, you know, they said yesterday he's day to day. So
as are we all. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm excited for Jamal Tiare. He got thrown into a rough one in Toronto, as did half the team. But for him to come out on his birthday and just be a menace is what you want to see out of any striker, but especially your backup. Super happy for him. He could have had the hat trick if it weren't for that, you know, pesky offside flag. But you know, I liked it. It wasn't pretty necessarily. I think it was better than the Orlando game in terms of like how pretty, quote unquote, it was. But I mean, you got 3 points and you got a clean sheet again.
Yes,
take it all day.
No doubt about it. So this was the moment that Tyler was alluding to, once again, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV Plus and Major League Soccer.
Not what you would call a traditional winger that doesn't want to defend. He's going to cover his mate.
This is what they expected from him. Signed as a Georgian DP last year in August of last season. And we have a straight red card that comes out of the pocket of referee Lucas Spala.
You just see, it's actually, just as he comes in here, oh, that's awful. That is awful. Such a poor challenge.
When Danny Higginbotham goes, that's a poor challenge. And to add injury to insult, Tehran got an envelope from the league disciplinary folks for not leaving the field in a timely manner. So here's a little something extra in your paycheck, sir.
You know, I wish they would have just came out and said, no, you're getting 3 games because you tried to break a man's leg. Like, you know, I will be the first to say, you get out there, you're playing, your legs are tired. Like, sometimes you get in that mindset of, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You go to challenge for a ball and your leg just doesn't go where you wanted it to go. But to put your foot through somebody's leg like that, stud straight into the calf, I mean, whether it was purely on accident or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've seen suspensions get handed out for much less in this league. And so for them, I guess to cover it up, hide it, whatever you want to call it, behind, oh, he didn't leave the field in a timely manner, I don't think that was the problem. I don't think that was the problem, but it doesn't matter. He needed to come off, and I personally feel like he needed a little extra as well. So
fined an undisclosed amount, according to our friends at Major League Soccer, for failing to leave the field in a timely manner in the 84th minute of the match on March 31. So
he's just an honorary member of House Bolton, and he's trying to bring flaying back.
and I mean, it's you end up with a couple of great moments for Jamal Tiare, and you know, when you look at Jamal, and I think the same can be said about Shande Silva, and I used the Vinnie Johnson reference from the Bad Boys and the Detroit Pistons. They look like they're rhythm guys. And also, when you get that first one, they want to go after that second one. They're getting those touches, they're getting the shots, they're feeling confident about themselves. And so I think that with those two up top, I think the more you feed them, the more chances they get to finish the deal. And I think the more confident they become. And you got to see that with Jamal with those 2 goals on you know, the birthday brace, which I cannot remember the last time a birthday brace has happened in Major League.
Right. And I think it's a little unfair too to look back at last week being Toronto and judge a whole lot on that match. Now, I mean, I've said it over and over again. I feel like Atlanta could have won that game still, but they didn't. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be difficult when you're missing, you know, 5-6 players. There's no easy way to make that happen. It doesn't matter how much you train together. You're not playing 90 minutes together in a competitive match. It just doesn't equate.
Right.
So it's a little unfair to judge him based on that. But then he comes in a moment when it really matters, where he has the majority of his, normal team with him and the normal talent that you're going to have on the pitch. And I mean, instantly makes an impact, instantly in the right place. And then credit to Brooks and Almada and everybody else on that side for, starting that goal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you look back at Toronto last week and that was his first, I think, real opportunity to make anything happen, but it was still kind of unfair. But then he comes in this one as the sub, and he does exactly what you want your backup striker to do, which is score goals. And yeah, I hope, like you said, this is what kind of kicks him off, and he can keep that momentum going forward whenever he's called upon.
Jarrett for at Scarves, the letter N Spikes, at ATL Pilgrim this morning on a Wall Pass Wednesday.
So let's talk about the old man. You might fight us if we called him that, but a couple games into the season now, Brad Guzan looks pretty good now that his Achilles is healed and he's not getting kicked in the legs constantly. Is it just being a year on from surgery, or did the man find the fountain of youth? Because he looks spry for his age.
I'm so glad you used that word, because I've been using the words spry and springy about Brad Guzan, which is not words I thought I'd put in the same sentence together. And that's not a knock against Brad. I just don't know that I've ever referred to anybody as springy or spry. But no, I mean, I think the dude just needed a Christmas with his family. Like, you've had your Achilles, you had was it the MCL, I think, in New York City?
When he got rolled by, was it Keaton Parks? And Keaton Parks doesn't even get called for a foul.
And then played 45 minutes after that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the mental aspect of that injury, or both of those injuries, is so tough to push through when you recover that quickly. You have no break to just kind of create a barrier between the injury and playing again. And so, I think this offseason was what he needed. I think he just needed to get away from playing the game for a little bit so that he didn't have to think about his knee or his, ankle every single day. And he's come back and he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the league, like statistically, and he just looks good. He passes the eye test and he passes the number test.
Well, and Alex is wondering, he also looks slimmer this year. I think Dell is mentioning that he's been doing yoga. And Will, with the most serious question about Brad Guzan. Tyler, the people must know, is Brad an energy vampire, and have we seen Josh Cohen recently?
We saw Josh Cohen in that clip that's been going around now, where I think Jamal Chiari scored that second goal, and Giacomakis jumps up off the bench, and Josh Cohen's right behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's found the book somewhere, and he's secretly pulling in some youth from everybody on the team. But now that you say it, though, I actually haven't seen Josh Cohen yesterday at training. I'm trying to think if I saw him or not. I saw the rest of the goalkeeper core, but hey, conspiracy theories abound. I don't know.
But now that Will has posited the idea of the energy vampire, maybe is Josh inside the actual Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training facility, and he's kind of up against a wall with some AC adapters that are attached, and
something attached to his head.
Yep. And then the other one, you have that the chain link that goes about 6 feet away, and then that's where Brad stands in, and Brad gets locked into position, and you sit there and you take energy from one to the other as you need it,
pulling it all in.
That kind of a thing. When we also, coming up, I know that it's we're going to be looking at She Believes Cup on Saturday, but you've also got Atlanta United and NYCFC, and this is not quite at the U12 futsal pitch known as Yankee Stadium. It is over in Queens at Citi Field, and NYCFC just ain't good right now. They just ain't. And this is another opportunity for Atlanta to get points on the road. A lot of folks are going, okay, Nick Cushing, we talked hot seat yesterday on the show. Nick Cushing is probably in the Eastern Conference toward the top of the list when it comes to being on the hot seat. It's an opportunity for Atlanta United to go into one of those environments where you're going from the first baseline down to the left field foul pole and playing soccer. I mean, it's a chance, and you honestly, I think you go into this anticipating mentally, yeah, we've got to get a result here. We should get a result here going up against NYC.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables, and I always talk about the variables in terms of like what should happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, New York City's not good. They're not. Like, they're just not a good football team right now.
Right.
And so it's always gonna be tough because you're going and playing on a baseball field. I get that. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Thankfully, Citi Field is marginally bigger than Yankee Stadium, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of at least the square footage that they're gonna have.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't even think a result is. I think you have to get the win.
Yeah.
I really do. Like you need to get some wins at some point in this. In this early part of the season away, you have to get them. And you go back and you look at all the teams that have won MLS Cup or won Supporter Shield over the past, I don't know, like 9 years or something, and you're sitting at around somewhere between 6 and 9 away wins.
Yeah.
During the season. So this is one that you should do. You should get the win here. And it is a weird environment. And I know for a lot of the newer players, they're going to be like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I asked Caleb Wiley and Jay Fortune yesterday about it. How different is it going up there, especially Jay? I don't know if he'll play. I'm assuming he will, but for a midfielder, you're playing in very, very, very tight spaces. It's already tight, but it's exponentially tighter when you're in that midfield spot on a baseball field. So, they both just kind of shook their head and they said, we're going to play our game. We may have to adapt a little bit. And Jay said something I thought was very wise beyond his years. And he said, we know that not every game that we win this year is going to be pretty, and that's okay. But we're still going to get the win. And, I like that attitude. I like that attitude from them, but they both understand the difficulties and the challenges of playing on such a small pitch. But they said, like we have heard all season, they're going to play their game. They're focused inward. They're going to do what they do. And they know that they're the better team.
And you get to try to do it. I like I said, it's not quite the U12 pitch where it is regulation.
Yeah.
According to Major League Soccer, but Peter Vermes can walk it off and sit there and go, no, this is 67. This is not 70. When you go into a situation like this, you have to think almost that percentage faster, if you know what I'm saying, because if a pitch is, say, 25% smaller in surface area, you've got to think that much faster because of things coming back at you. You have to process quicker. You've got to sit there and anticipate that the distance between the two lines ain't going to be what you're normally used to. And so everything compresses, but your brain has to work almost in an inverse proportion. You've got to think quicker as things get smaller. And it's an odd vibe to go to New York in either situation.
Yeah. And also from like a player's perspective, you play on a real regulation size pitch and you're training and, you're that guy. Let's say you're Bartosz Slish and you're the guy pinging a long ball over the midfield to Saba, making a run down the right-hand side. Well, when you do that 157 times in training on a regulation size pitch, you get pretty good at it. You're used to what you got to put on the ball and everything else. And then you go up to a baseball field and you have to adjust everything back down. And like you said, your speed, your mental speed, your thought process has to be quicker. Everything has to be quicker because it's just that much or that little distance to cover. So that was something that came up last year. Pineda, when New York City away week comes up, he will rope off the training ground to a much smaller size. And, they almost had it last year, even despite all the craziness with Brad and everything else. I mean, you didn't look bad up there last year. You're playing a team that's worse this year on a slightly bigger pitch again, variables, you have all the variables going for you. So I think, yeah, I mean, you've got to look at this as we're going to go and win this game and not just barely win it. Like you need to go and dominate a team on the road and help build that confidence up. I like it. I think, I'm optimistic about it. I think you have your opportunity here to show that everything you talked about in the preseason and all the work that you put in to try to be better on the road, this is the opportunity to show that it's going to pay off.
And you mentioned something that that it didn't trigger until you had mentioned it. Just the waiting on, and I mean WEIGHTING, not the WAITING. But the weight that you're putting on a pass has to be altered because you're used to a certain distance and a certain weight, and it's like, okay, my follow through has to be X to get it from point A to point B. That's altered because of the distance that's there, and so it takes it is a mental advantage that you have to push through for NYC in those environments to make sure that, okay, I need to take a little bit off of it here. I need to add a little bit more here. It's an odd duck, as we say here south of the Mason-Dixon line when you go and play at NYC, either at City or at Yankee Stadium. There's been some talk in the Twitch pitch about Aiden McFadden, and we know he's being loaned out. I don't think there has been any kind of official announcement as to where. And it simply with Aiden comes down to the numbers game, wanting to get Aiden quality minutes, making sure that his game continues to grow and evolve, and that he's not just sitting on a bench someplace. Traditionally in the past, he's been loaned out to USL Championship. Like I said, we don't know where specifically, but once again, it looks like Aiden is off to go get minutes someplace, but we don't know where yet.
Yeah, it's a little odd, I think, because it's not like you have a ton of fullback depth. Like, I mean, you have players that can do it, but I mean, you have Caleb, who's going to be going to the Olympics. I'm assuming, and this is not like, don't fact check me on this yet, please. But Ronald Hernandez, Venezuela, Copa America.
Yeah. Luis for Peru.
Yep.
So I would say that you lose Luis. You lose, if Ronald heads to Venezuela, vamos Venezuela. You got that, but at the same time, I think if you look at it that way, with Caleb and with Ronald and with Luis, I think what that also says is your confidence level that you have in individuals like Matthew Edwards, like Efren Morales, and Noah Cobb. And so I think that's how I would look at it. If you're losing those individuals, I think that what you're seeing with Atlanta United 2 and with the academy, with what Steve Cook is doing, you're seeing the confidence that's there in those younger players. And once again, we talked about Noah Cobb and how he has continued to become more and more comfortable at the MLS level, having a guy like Derek Williams off your left shoulder to help you with his 10 years of experience in the league. So I think that there is a confidence factor in the growth curve of the younger guys that we were just talking about here. So they feel, and like, I don't know what the recall mechanism would be yet. Like I said, we anticipate it happening. We've been told it's happening. We just don't know where. We don't know the particulars, and we don't know the when. But I think that there's a confidence factor in the younger guys that is adding to this as to where you're looking to get Aiden some minutes.
Yeah, which, I mean, I'm all for. I like Aiden McFadden. I really do. I just, he's been here for a minute, and the opportunities have been there, and it just seems like he's stuck in that purgatory of like not MLS and maybe too good for next pro.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. It's also the last year of his contract. So is that a sign that maybe they're just trying to, this might be one of those cases where, he told us at the beginning of the season, the loan last year was, it was mutual. Like he wanted to go play. He wanted minutes.
Yeah. And
so they made it happen. And I just wonder if it's kind of essentially come to the forefront that look at that. That was cool. That was cool. that, he's maybe not going to be getting as much time as he wants.
Yeah.
And you loan him out, and maybe part of that agreement is for whatever club that they've got this agreement with, they're just going to buy him at the end of the season. I don't know. I mean, because I don't know if it's an option. So I don't know if it's one of those. It could just be they loan him out and then he becomes a quote unquote free agent and then they just pick him up immediately. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. But I think ultimately, for an Atlanta perspective, you're looking at a guy who, he's had the time. I like him. I think he's good. I just don't know that he's going to fit in going forward. And then you talk about the guys behind him that could potentially play in those spots that need the time. I don't think you're losing any quality by giving them those opportunities, especially if you look at the way Noah Cobb played the other day. I thought he was great. I get that's two slightly different positions, but the pipeline is there for these younger guys. And if Aiden McFadden's not going to be a part of the future here, then you've got to clear out space so that you can give these young guys that time.
Yeah. So, like I said, we are waiting on the definitive answer as to the where and the when and the I's crossed and T's dotted and those kinds of things when it comes to Aiden McFadden and all of that. Maddie Cruz on the ones and twos has a question for Tyler Pilgrim on a Wall Pass Wednesday.
What's up, Tyler? How you doing?
How's it going?
Sorry, y'all. Had to jump in a little bit later. I had to do a quick phone call and then I lost track of time. So that's on me. But I'm here. I'm here now.
I do that all the time.
I think my question is, since we're talking about Aiden McFadden, I mean, I saw when that came out and I don't believe it's been confirmed which club he's going to yet.
No.
Initial thoughts on what you were thinking about it? Because I thought it was a weird trade because we need more depth in that fullback area. And so what was your initial reaction to it, and where are some clubs you think he might be going to?
Is Stephen Glass on line one, maybe?
I know, right? I was just thinking, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back and head back up to Memphis. I also think, our good friends, the Battery.
Dell will be happy to hear you say that. Del Schaefer in the Twitch pitch.
I know, right? The thing is, Aiden can fit. Aiden is a versatile player. He really is. And he's actually learned a lot, I think, being at Atlanta over the past couple of seasons.
Yeah.
I think it's made him less one-dimensional. I really think he could drop into just about any USL championship team, period, and get plenty of minutes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, though, honestly, just to see him go straight back to Memphis. I wouldn't be surprised at it. So I don't know. But yeah, I think with the depth, like I mentioned it a minute ago, but it is odd. But we also have seen over the past, especially since Garth has been here, so the past, a little over calendar year, that they're not making these moves without a plan in place. So there's clearly something, whether it is like, John mentioned, you're just making room for the young guys to come up, or maybe there's some other kind of loan move coming in like they did with Daniel Rios, which, was kind of out of nowhere, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, it seems like this is the beginning, like the first cog turning. That's going to start turning a few others. And I wouldn't be surprised over the next couple of weeks if we see something else happen.
Yep. Ronald, folks are asking in the Twitch pitch about Ronald Hernandez, Emilio specifically, and Ronald is in the last year of his deal. He on New Year's Eve, that is officially it. When it turns New Year's Day, that is it for Ronald Hernandez in this current contract. You have, just to let everybody know, Brad, but I think there's another option here. Dax, Jamal, Daniel Rios, who's on loan, Ronald Hernandez, Nick Firmino, Aiden McFadden, Efren Morales, Tyler Wolf, Jay Fortune. That is your New Year's Eve 2024 contract update. And so, if you and Emilio mentions the point, if Ronald goes, then Aiden comes back. But once again, it's you're looking at trying to figure out, okay, is there interest? Do you do something while you have control of the asset and try to do something in the summer window? Do you need Ronald and his experience to get you through this run because of the multiple competitions? All these different things are in play. And the fact that we can have this conversation about all these different things being in play and needing all of the depth and having the depth coming from a bunch of different places. It's a conversation you want to have. You don't want to be like NYCFC sitting there going, man, the twos last night against Red Bulls 2 in Open Cup. You don't want to, if they win, then let's have Nick Cushing. Let's put the twos play NYC. And if loser leave town match and the Cushing loses to the twos, then he goes and coaches the twos and the twos come up and get promoted. You want to have these conversations. I mean, you want to be in a position where you're sitting there and you're saying, okay, if then, instead of being, at the bottom of the table and sitting there going, man, how do we slog our way out of this? These are conversations about depth and all these different angles that you want to have, and you're having them this year with Atlanta United too, and Atlanta United.
Yeah, and I think one thing too that kind of pops out to me about Atlanta's fullbacks is it's not easy to find the type of fullback that Atlanta wants.
Mm-mm.
Like they're kind of unicorns in MLS. I mean, you look at Brooks Lennon and Caleb Wiley, and they're both improving on their defensive game, but they're very attack oriented. And Pineda has said over and over again that he wants his fullbacks, like they're defenders first and foremost. They have to defend well. And that's been a big focus, as the whole team tries to improve their defensive capabilities, especially over the last 2 seasons. But they innately have the ability to go forward and make something happen. And I just don't know that you've seen a ton of that with Ronald Hernandez and Aiden McFadden in the time that Aiden with the twos to a degree, but still, I don't even think as much as you would like.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, maybe it is one of those situations where they have somebody in mind and they're trying to make that move for a little bit of depth. I don't know. I mean, this is all speculation. This is just me playing Football Manager in my head, but that's as we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the type of the profile of fullback that Pineda wants on this team, this is not a knock against either one of them, Ronald Hernandez or Aiden McFadden, but I just don't know that they quite fit the profile that the club wants.
And quoting one of the great character actors of the 20th century in a role from The Hunt for Red October, Russians don't take a dump, son, without a plan.
That is true.
Fred Dalton Thompson. So you have all of the, you're playing Vulcan chess is what you're trying to do. You're trying to play Vulcan chess and everybody else is trying to play checkers here in Major League Soccer.
Trying.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's what you're trying to do. It's, you're trying to sit there and work in 3 dimensions, if not 4, and figure out, okay, what can we do here and this and this and this and this and this. And then you end up with, as I flip the conversation to the rest of Major League Soccer, you end up with LAFC, who brings in your doppelganger, apparently, come the summer transfer window, and Olivier Giroud. See, now this is what we need. Maddie, this is what we need when LAFC in the summer plays Atlanta United. We need a side-by-side comparison of Tyler and Olivier Giroud. Tyler has to get rid of the hat, but nevertheless, we need these side-by-side facial comparisons between Olivier Giroud and Tyler Pilgrim. That's what we need. Is this your long-lost twin? I mean, it could be a doppelganger. That's what we're staring at. Yeah.
I don't know in what universe anybody thinks I look like that beautiful man. Because it's certainly not this one.
No, but you got guys like LAFC and John Thorrington. They want to sit there and go right up to the edge. Inter Miami apparently has signed someone else new, and with all of the injuries, and it literally is you're trying to slide folks in when folks get injured. What can we do to fill this space? What does this count against the cap? Messi and friends signed Leo Afonso, by the way, for the 24 season, option spanning 25 to 27. He was their second-round selection from the University of Virginia, so you would anticipate that he's not going to be that much of a deal up against the cap. But you got guys like Thorrington, you've got guys like Chris Henderson, you got guys like Carlos Bocanegra with Atlanta. They're trying to figure out how they can make things work, where we see folks like in Seattle right now who are at the bottom of the table and they're just injured and they're stuck. And they don't have the same kind of ways to go around the situation like we're seeing with, like we're discussing here with LA, with Messi and friends, and with Atlanta.
Yeah. and it's funny because like you talk about Giroux, and it's crazy how LA missing one key piece can go from one of the best teams in the league to just like what happened.
Dude, they only had 18 guys on their roster at the beginning of the season. They still needed to fill roster space.
That's true. It's you can barely fill out the team sheet. But yeah, I mean, we always talk about the parity in the league, and sometimes I get irritated hearing that word over and over again, but it's true. And one team one year can look totally different come the end of February when the league starts back up. But it doesn't just stop.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season.
What?
I know, right? Like
what?
I don't. It's revelationary or anything. Bombshell, but you got to continue looking. And Bocanegra, I've said it before, but like Bocanegra can bring in the talent. He's shown he can bring in the talent. But you have Garth Lagerwey up there who I think provides a little bit more of a vision, and you have them working together. And I actually think it's a really good thing. I think both that pairing is really, really solid. And so, yeah, if this is the beginning of a series of chess moves, I mean, I'll sit back and watch, and I'll enjoy it and see what happens.
All right. So speaking of sitting back and watching things and seeing what happens, I know that you and the SNS folks are going to be at She Believes, but then there's something at a shiny hotel close by that we need to talk about.
Yeah, we are going to be just after the doubleheader. We're going to be over at the Nest on 4 bar, which is at the Signia by Hilton Hotel, which is that big glass building right next to the bins, next to the backyard.
Where it is not $7 a night to get a room.
Right. It is not. That is true. But the bar is open to the public. You just go in the doors, go up the escalators to the 4th floor. And yeah, we're going to be doing the live show, talking about She Believes Cup and previewing the Atlanta match. And then we're going to just sit down and hang out at the bar and watch the game.
There you go.
Watch a win.
There it is. So Tyler, Scarves and Spikes, at Scarves, the letter N Spikes on the 280 character app, at ATL Pilgrim on the 280 character app. Enjoy the stuff out of your John Wayne mug, and just make sure that Colonel Mustard does not chase after you with the candlestick there in the substitute studio. Yeah. And obviously we're going to be, we'll see you this weekend there at Mercedes-Benz with 50,000 of our best friends. And we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us as you always do on a Wall Pass Wednesday, because it always goes off the rails.
We appreciate it.
There you go. That's Tyler.